Hello everyone and welcome back to Busy Bee Stitches. My name is Beth and this is my Flosstube number 2. So, I know that I said in my last video that I was not going to do weekly Flosstube, and yet here I am 1 week since my last video. But here's the thing. I went to Needlework Galleria over the weekend and I could not keep it to myself until the end of the month. So I decided to come on in just a week to tell you all about it. So I'm sure this will not become a trend, but you never know. I might like the weekly. No promises. So Needlework Galleria in St. Charles, Missouri was an absolute blast. I'm really lucky that it was so close because I was able to go after work on Thursday and Friday instead of taking Friday off or Thursday off for travel even. So I was really thankful for that because I probably wouldn't have been able to go otherwise. I do think I missed out a little bit by commuting back and forth. I think the people that were staying in the hotel were definitely hanging around longer, definitely just had a little bit more time to bond, and also could drop things off in their room and that sort of thing, take a little bit of a breather and then go back down. So it's something that I might consider if I were to go back, but just the sheer lack of travel, not that there was no traffic around rush hour was not the most fun, but the fact that I was able to go after work was truly a blessing for me right now. I am having trouble putting into words how cool it was to go and see all of the pretty stitchy things and be able to rifle through it all and pick out things that I never would have discovered on my own. It was just really cool, and I bought a lot of things, and my wallet is very sad now. But I was anticipating that. I expected that to happen. So, let's see. On Thursday, I went after work, and because I bought the membership, I was able to go. They open everything Thursday evening for members to shop ahead of time. So that was really cool. I was kind of expecting that to be a little bit quieter because it was like an extra paid thing to get to go on Thursday, but it was packed. It was so packed. I had my stitching bag and I had my bag from registration, and then once I started buying things, I had those bags too, and I felt like I was just like knocking people over left and right and knocking things off shelves and bumping into people, and it was chaotic for sure. I felt like I didn't really get to see as much as I wanted to just because there wasn't any room to stand and you had to get around people. So after I bought all the things on Thursday, I thought maybe I'd be done, but I did go back and shop more on Saturday when things were a little bit calmer. And on Saturday I was shocked. I was able to like actually walk around the shops and stand and talk to people and take my time looking at all the models and, you know, rifle through boxes of charts and that sort of thing. So being able to take my time with that was exciting. So glad I did the majority of my shopping on Thursday, but Saturday was a much more pleasurable shopping experience. On Thursday, I basically shopped and headed home because it was late and I was tired. But because I'd done all my shopping on Thursday, I then headed to the stitching room on Friday after work. And that was the part that I was most anxious about. Since I've never been to something like this before, I was a little bit nervous about what the dynamic would be like in the stitching rooms, And I think I was right to be nervous, honestly. I walked in and the tables were just about all full of people's stitching stuff, but the room was pretty empty of people. I think people had put their stuff down and gone to shop, or put their stuff down and gone to dinner. And so they were just reserving their spots all day. And that was a little bit tough to come into at 5:30 in the evening, especially because a lot of people were heading to dinner at that point. So I mustered up the courage and walked up to a group of people and I said, hey, how does this work? Do I just sit down? What do I do? And they were like, yep, you just sit down. Any space that's available, you're welcome to sit down. We would invite you to sit here, but we're about to get up and go to dinner. And then they helped me find, at the other end of their table were two lovely ladies who were sitting and stitching, and so I was able to join them. Their names were Jan and Connie, and they were super duper sweet. All weekend they were talking about starting a Flosstube, and Connie is not so sure, but Jan would really like the pair of them to do a Flosstube, and I think they would make a wonderful Flosstube pair. So Jan and Connie, if you're watching, do it! So I had a fabulous time stitching with them for a little while on Friday, but then they got up and went to dinner, and I was kind of by myself at this table for a while. And that was not the most fun. And then the folks that came back to the table after dinner, not the people that I talked to when I entered the room, a different group that was sitting at the same table. They came back from dinner and they like barely acknowledged me. Once I finally had a chance to introduce myself to them, they said hello, but then, went right back to talking to each other and did not include me, did not seem interested in what I was working on. And so it was pretty much like I was still alone while they were sitting next to me at the table. So that sucked. Not gonna lie. And I was feeling really discouraged. I left way earlier than I thought I was going to on Friday because, to be honest, after Jan and Connie left, I wasn't having fun. And so I went home. Thankfully, I was pulled back to Galleria on Saturday because I had signed up for a class. So regardless of how much fun I was having in the stitching room, I was always going to come back on Saturday. So, I came back for the class, which I'll talk about in a minute. Then I wandered back and did some more shopping on Saturday. And then I decided to brave the stitching room again, which I'm really glad I did. There were 2 stitching rooms, and I decided I was just gonna, try the other one just to see. And again, I just walked in and I found a table with an open spot and I said, hey, can I sit here? And they were like, oh, yeah, we'd love to have you sit down. And right as soon as I sat down, they were asking me what I was working on and interested to see what I was doing and to see pictures of other things I was working on. And I have my patterns all on my iPad, and so I was like highlighting on my iPad, and they were very interested in that and asking me questions about that. And so the table that I sat with on Saturday were super sweet, and I really appreciated them because they sort of renewed my excitement for stitchy events in general. I was really worried after Friday that stitching events were just people came with people they already knew or met people that they already knew, and camped out at a table together, little cliques, and it would be really, really hard always for a single person to interject into that space and have a good time. But between the table that I sat with on Saturday, I also saw Jan and Connie again on Saturday. So that was cool. And then I also, during the class that I went to, got to sit next to Laura from Love You More, and who makes the wonderful, dropping things, who makes these wonderful, it's just going to go on the floor, who makes these wonderful book sleeves. I sat next to her in my class, and I didn't even know that that's who she was when I sat down next to her. But that was a fun surprise. And so she also runs the Show Me Retreat. And when I was talking to her about that, I was sharing some of my dismay about Friday and about my concern for, just being a lonely single person coming on my own to events like this. And she said, oh, no, people, come by themselves to Show Me all the time, and they have a great time. You should definitely come. So all those things together just made me feel like, okay, I just had, one meh moment on Friday, and I can look past that and call the weekend a win for the majority. So I'm very appreciative of them. Let me talk about the finishing class that I took. So there were a bunch of classes offered at Galleria. They are not inexpensive, so I decided I was only going to take one. I also couldn't take any of the Friday classes because they were happening while I was at work. So I ended up going with the Barre finishing class, run by Linda from Erica Michaels, and I had a blast at this class. I decided to take it because I've always liked the look of berries ever since I discovered they were a thing, but I am not good at finishing. Very inexperienced at it. Not a strength of mine. And so I always just assumed if I was going to stitch a berry, I was going to have to send it out to be finished by somebody else. But when I saw the class, I thought, maybe this will at least help me. Or maybe it'll help me know that I should never stitch a berry ever. Thankfully, that was not what I learned. So Linda was absolutely fabulous. She set the class up so well for success. I am so pleased with the money I spent on this class. So, in this class, we got a folder, and in the folder, we have a chart that is a pretty quick to stitch chart. Let me show you what it looks like. This is the chart that we got, and it also includes templates for cutting out the berry shape, and depending on your fabric count, it also includes templates for cutting out some of the finishing elements. And then over on this side, she included a packet of finishing instructions, both for the silk berries and the linen berries that she does. And she made a pretty significantly detailed packet of the embellishments that she uses to finish her berries, because she wanted us to get the juices flowing about the kinds of things that we can use, and if any of us have embellishment stash, which I don't, but many of the people in the room did, to start thinking about how you can use what you already have. So I really appreciated all of those materials. I am really happy with the berry pattern that we got. I think it's really cute, and I'm glad that it's going to be a quick stitch so that we can get some immediate gratification. She also gave us a tip that I'm definitely going to use, which is to actually finish your first berry on a piece of fabric that isn't stitched on. To just like go to Joann's or go through your stash if you have one and pick out a piece of fabric that you like the look of and just finish a berry like that. So that for me takes some of the stress out of it if it comes out horrible. So I'm absolutely going to do that. And something I think I'm going to do. In St. Louis, we have, I want to say it's called the St. Louis Sewing Room. I could be wrong. But basically it's a place where you can go and rent time on sewing machines, or I think they have other things too, like sergers and embroidery machines and things like that. Now I know how to use a sewing machine to some extent. When I was a kid, my mom taught me how to use a sewing machine. She is very skilled at it. And just because I don't have one and I don't do any sewing on a sewing machine, I've sort of, that muscle is atrophied a bit. So I could probably, once the machine was all set up, I could probably do some basic stuff. But if you asked me to like set up the bobbin and thread I would not know how to do it in this moment. So, thankfully, the St. Louis Sewing Room offers classes, including beginner sewing machine classes. So I'm sure a lot of that will be stuff I already know, but I would really appreciate the refresher. So I think a friend and I are going to go to that beginner class and get a sewing machine refresher, and then I'll go and rent time on a sewing machine and finish up my just pretty fabric Barre, so that I can do this before I forget everything that Linda taught us. I furiously took notes of everything I could think of after the class. But yeah, huge shout out to Linda for making the Barre finishing feel very approachable, and for setting us up for success. We also got for the class, the thing I dropped on the floor, is a kit that includes no fabric, because she wants us to be able to just use whatever we have in our stash available. But it does include the wool felt, is that what you call this? It's wool. To finish the Barre, and thread and some other necessary things. It's also got like the interfacing and stuff back here. And so you can see all of these elements, the wool cap and the materials to make these cute embellishment pins and all that sort of stuff is included in this kit. So thank you so much to Linda. What a fantastic class. Absolutely worth the money and the time. So, I think that covers Galleria for the most part, except for what I bought. So we're going to get into that. But first, I want to talk about what I stitched this week. So, first, while I was at Galleria in the stitching room, I worked on Emerald City. And I made quite a bit of progress. So you can see that blue down by the corn is the start of the scarecrow. And I am very pleased with that. Now, I used variegated thread for the first time for the Yellow Brick Road. And I really like the way it's turning out. So that is my progress on Emerald City. I used that for all of my Magical Stitches homework last week. So that's why I got so much progress. Still way behind in the sew. The next part comes out in a week. I know I'm not going to be caught up by then, but I'm really happy that I did make progress. The other thing I worked on last week is the Pride and Prejudice Sal by Sapphire Mountain. And my camera is not doing a great job of showing you, but there is some like pink in the red here. Yeah, this camera does not love to focus. We're gonna have to work on that. So not a ton of progress on that, but it was great to get that started. I've also been reading Pride and Prejudice for that Sal and really having a good time reading that too. So there's that. Sorry, I have a lot going on over here. Gotta clean up as I go. Then, yesterday was the first day of fall, and with that, I started something else. Let me see, do I have? I do. So I showed this last time, I think. But this is Autumn Quakers by Rosewood Manor. And when I saw this, I about died because the colors are absolutely stunning. So because it is fall themed, I thought that it would be really fun to start it on the first day of fall. So I fit it into my Magical Stitches homework so that I would be able to start it this week. And this is what I've done so far. So again, really not that much progress. I really love the look of this fabric. I don't know how much I love stitching on it. But I don't feel like I've given it enough of a chance to make a determination. I'm also using the called for Valdani floss on this piece. And that is 3-ply floss. So I'm stitching on 28 counts, so I don't have to pull that apart at all. And I don't know how I feel about this floss either. Again, I feel like I need to give it some more time to make a better determination. It is quite variegated, which I think you can really only see in the purple. I think everywhere else the variegation is kind of is not super visible. I'm sure it'll be more present as I go through the piece. The biggest thing about the Valdani floss that's frustrating, actually in the Hufflepuff chat for Magical Stitches, right before I started this, like hours before I started it, somebody else was in there complaining about the Valdani floss, that they were getting really frustrated with it, that it was tangling up, that it was really dry, and I was like, oh no, I'm literally going home to start it right now. But I'm trying to keep an open mind with it. I do find that it tangles if I'm not careful. I find that if I just go a little bit slow, take my time, that it does okay. The biggest frustration of mine with this is that I really like to loop start. That's how I start everything, except for when I'm using a single thread. And so not being able to loop start with this project is really frustrating. And because it's 3 threads instead of 1, I find that getting all the tails tucked in the back and threading my needle through underneath my stitches in the back is really hard. It's just tight and tangly. And so this is what the back looks like. I'm not particularly pleased with this back. It feels like kind of a mess. I'm not one to really care that much about my back, but I care when it starts to affect my ease of stitching, and it has already started. That's already started to happen. So I think I need a different approach here. The only thing I can think of is that I should try pin stitches to start and stop on this piece. I've never done pin stitches before, but from my last video, you already know that I love trying out new things. So I think for this piece moving forward, I'm going to try and teach myself to pin stitch. I don't know if that will be harder with 3 threads, if it'll like get puffier or anything on the stitches where I did the pin stitch. I don't really know how it works. I just know that it's a thing and that it can be used for starting and stopping stitches. I'm stitching 2 other pieces right now that I can't loop start on. They're both single thread projects. One of them is Christmas Carol, which is right here, and with this piece I am waist knotting. So these are both started and stopped threads over here, and they need to be trimmed. They're far too long and in the way. But what I've discovered is when I get further along, like I have on my Harry Potter covers piece. I think I've gotten past the places where this is the biggest problem here. But what happens when I'm waist knotting here and parking down here is that the waist knots and the parking start to get jumbled together. And that's really frustrating and confusing. And I really like waist knotting and I really like parking, but I'm starting to wonder if maybe they don't work great together. So maybe pin stitches will help me on more than just autumn Quakers. The only other projects that I'm working on with 1 thread are blackwork pieces, and as far as I understand, pin stitches won't really work for that because I'm not making a full X with those stitches, but we'll see what my research into pin stitches tells me as I move forward, so we'll see about that. So those were my whips. I'm just looking to see if there was anything I missed. Oh, I did want to thank the Hufflepuff Chat and Magical Stitches for helping me with the Pride and Prejudice cell, because I really wanted to start it and I wanted to get points for it if I was going to start stitching on it. So I asked them if they could help me think of ways to apply it for extra credits for Magical Stitches, and they absolutely came through. So I started working on it for the Love or Red and Pink extra credit, but I think I have some others too that I could apply it for, so I am excited about that. So thank you guys for helping me with that. All right. Moving on to so the focus on unfinished pieces and the shame bell piece. I don't know if I'm gonna keep calling it that, but it's funny to me right now. Shame. They're all still the same as last time, so I'm not really gonna talk about them. The only one of the focus on unfinished pieces that I plan to work on this week is Saturn. That's going to get covered in my homework, but I'll talk about that in plans. So, let's talk about what I bought at Galleria. We're going to need a drink for this one. Okay. So, I bought a lot of things. Just for reference, I spent in August, I spent 3 times as much on stitching as I spent, like 4 times as much on stitching stuff as I spent in July. And then I spent that much again in September so far. So we're going to have to take a buying break after this, because my wallet can't take that sort of trend. Not a trend, just things happening back to back. But yeah, I'm going to need to calm down for a little while. And we're back. Sorry, I realized that I left some of my haul in the other room, so I had to go get it. So with that, let's talk about what I bought at Galleria, which, y'all, it was a lot. It was a lot. But it's okay, I love it all. I'm so happy with all of it. So we'll start with this t-shirt, which I cannot seem to hold things straight in this camera. It says, how to cross stitch. Make an X on fabric with a needle and thread. Repeat 22,000 times. And so I got this from Shakespeare's Peddler, and it's super soft and comfy. I've already worn it, and I love it. And my favorite thing about this shirt is that it says repeat 22,000 times, and it costs $22, which is hilarious to me. And when I asked, I'm forgetting her name, who runs that shop, when I asked her about it, she said that she did not do it on purpose. But I love it all the same. So I went to So Much to Love project bags, and I got to meet Karen, who makes them, and she is very lovely. And I bought this. I love it so much. It's so pretty. I just love it. I love the Yellow Brick Road. I love all the characters. I love that there's a little bit of shimmer in the fabric. I don't know if you can see, like, the monkey's wings are a little shimmery. I love the inside is like Dorothy's dress. I just love it. Oop, that was a little bit of a teaser on what else I got. So yeah, I love this bag. And the fun part about this bag is that when I was buying it, it was sort of clipped together with the sidekick in this fabric, but I only wanted the larger size. And as I was asking if they were sold together or separately, Steph from Just Keep Stitching was also in So Much to Love and all the way across the room. And she goes, "Oh my God, are you not getting the sidekick? Can I have it?" So now we're back twins because she got the sidekick. So that's cool. Also from So Much to Love, I got a sidekick. And I love this. I love the color. I love the design. I love the polka dots on the inside. I love everything about this. As I said, I'm really into the strawberries. I think they're super cool. And I think it's really cool that I got a strawberry bag to commemorate learning how to finish strawberries. I don't know what I'm going to do with this bag because I already have a sidekick from So Much to Love. They're not big enough to fit the floss bags that I use. I use snack baggies, and they're not big enough for that. And I don't really have that much in my tool bag, so I don't know what I need another sidekick for, but I'm going to figure it out because I have to use this because it's amazing. Then I went to Stitched Modern, and I got my first set of Tulip Needles. These are number 24s. And these are like all the rage. I'm not entirely sure why. They have, can you see that? Nope, not gonna want to focus. Not even gonna try. They've got gold eyes, and I don't know if that's functional or if that's just pretty, but everybody loves them, and so I felt like I needed to try them. I have tried them. Sorry, I'm missing something else that I thought I had. Everybody talks about the Tulip Needles, and not totally sure why, but I decided to try them. I have since tried them, and it was actually on the Pride and Prejudice piece that I tried them on, and the weave was too close. I could not stitch with a 24. It was like squeaking all the way through the fabric and awful. So it was a good opportunity to use the new number 26 needles that I got. I really like needles from this company, Bohin. And I have 24s and 28s, but not 26s. And I'm actually really liking the size 26. I think it's a good compromise between 24 and 28. So happy with that. I got something else from Stitched Modern, and I thought it was in this little bag. But, aha, I found it. It was hiding. Guys, I love this. This was an impulse buy. I just walked by this, and immediately I knew I needed to have it. Look at that. I love it. So it's a pack of them, and you can put it on the back of your projects or wherever you want on your projects. And I love it. I think it's so funny. So goofy. Makes me happy. So, moving on to some charts. I went to Lindy Stitches, and can I just say that Stephanie is lovely. She was absolutely wonderful. So at Lindy Stitches, I got the Peacock Keeper, because isn't that just the most stunning thing you've ever seen? I really like this. I saw this when it first came out. I believe it came out at Market this year. And it is clear that my tastes have evolved even just since then. Because when that came out, I was like, wow, that's really pretty, but that's like just not my style. And now I'm like, I need it. So, yeah, there's definitely something happening to me there. Also from Lindy Stitches, I got, I forget the rest. And anyone that knows me knows that I am obsessed with owls. And I just think this is such a cute piece. I really like the branches. I like the owls. I like the weird, funky eyebrows on the owls. I love the message. The colors are fantastic. I just love everything about this. And so this is not even remotely my boyfriend's style. But our anniversary is in November. And I think I'm going to start this for our anniversary. It's not going to be a gift for him since he won't appreciate it. But he would appreciate something else I stitch. But that particular piece is not his style. So I'm just going to stitch it for me. Nothing wrong with that, right? So that's what I got from Lindy Stitches. Also, while I was in Lindy Stitches, I'm blanking on her name. Oh man, I can't remember her name. There was somebody else who had their patterns available in the same room. And she was telling me that there is a like St. Louis area stitching meetup. So I might have to check that out. I didn't know that existed. I'm sure it will not be close to me or convenient in any way, because why would it be? That's just my luck. But I'm looking forward to checking that out. So then I went to, these are by no means in any order. I went to Color and Cotton. And I was really excited that Color and Cotton was going to be there, because I really like their fabric and I wanted the opportunity to get to look at what they have and touch it and see all the pretty colors in person. The problem was the way that their fabric was laid out in their room was that it was like organized by color and not by fabric type or count. And so I did some digging through what they had. Most of it was linen. there was a lot of like 28 count that I don't really like to stitch on. I definitely prefer even weave as well, which there wasn't a lot of. And it was really hard because like you have to like turn the package over to the back to see what the fabric type and count was. And it was tedious and frustrating, so I didn't really do that very much. But I did get some Ada from Color and Cotton. This one is River Rock. This is an 1/8 yard, 16 count. And then I got Fennel Seed, which is a 1/4 yard, and that's 18 count. So here's what they look like next to each other. Just 2 different colors of neutrals. So that'll just be nice to have in my stash. I don't have any plans for that at the moment. I've run out of places to put things. So then I went to the Silver Needle, and I got a few things there. First of all, I got Octopus Garden, which this one seems like much harder to find than Yellow Submarine. This is really the only other one of this set, of the Beatles set, that I'm interested in stitching, and I did not immediately have success finding it. So I was thrilled to find this at the Silver Needle, and I can't wait to stitch it. Again, this is gonna hang out in my stash for quite a while, but excited to have it. Also from the Silver Needle, I got the Blue Flower Halloween Acorns. Ooh, it's so pretty. The colors in this are stunning. I love the acorns. I wanted finished like exactly like this, with the purple finishing. Oh, it's so pretty. I had seen Janine's designs before, and they're quite cute with the squirrels, but not super my style. And I saw somebody else exclaim about these in the Silver Needle, and when I turned, I was like, well, I'm gonna need that too. So, love that. Then I got another kit. You know, I told you guys that I'm not really that into kits, and then I bought a million kits, so I don't know what that's about. But I got my first Mill Hill kit, and this is Winter Glow. Sorry, there's a glare. But it's a beautiful winter scene and night sky, and I just love it. So this is comes with the perforated paper that Mill Hill is usually done on, but the model in Silver Needle was stitched on linen, on like a neutral linen, and I really like the way the model looked, so I'm very tempted to stitch it that way with fabric. And I also, if you look here, you can see the edges of the perforated paper in the way that they framed this. And I guess you could totally frame it so that you hide the perforated paper. I don't love the way that the raw perforated paper looks. It's like a dark blue. I think it would be cool like on an ornament or something, but framed I don't really, or, you know, finished some other way. I don't really like the way that the perforated paper looks. I'm open to trying perforated paper on something. I just don't know if this is the right thing to try it on. So I might do what the model did and stitch this on fabric. I've also never beaded before, and so I'm looking forward to trying that out as well. I intentionally picked something that has fairly minimal beading because I'm a little bit intimidated by the beading, and I didn't want to overwhelm myself to start. And I cannot confirm, but I'm pretty sure all the stars are stitched, that they're not beads, and they're not French knots. I really, really, really hope they're not French knots. Most of the beads are like down here in the snow. There are totally blue beads. Don't know where those go. I think some of the beads go in the trees too. So that's probably, there's like blue and green beads. I think those go in the trees. So yeah, some adventures will definitely happen on this. Again, I don't know when I'm going to stitch that. In my free time, I suppose. So then, I don't want to show the whole pattern here. So, we got a freebie from So Much to Love. Ooh, dropping everything. I can't hold this. Apparently, there we go. We got a freebie from So Much to Love in our bags, which was super sweet. And it is of Needlework Galleria, and it says, "The fun never ends when stitching with friends." And I love it. It's great. And it's small, so it's 50 by 58. So that'll be fun to stitch up. Not like I don't have anything to work on right now, but I'd really like to start that soon to commemorate Galleria. We'll see if that actually happens. All right. Then I went to Inspired Needle. And I got a few things, but I'm going to start with this one. Oh, that's where I got the needles. I did something real dumb. I saw these scissors, and I was like, oh, those are really cool. I only have one pair of scissors, and so far that's really all I've needed. But these are small, and they're red, which I like. And they are like a soft touch material, which seems really comfy and nice for travel. So I thought it would be cool. And I'm like, it's scissors, so whatever. So I just grabbed them. And I didn't look at how much they cost until I got home. Focus. Nope. Not gonna focus. All right, not gonna focus. They cost $31. Yeah. Not thrilled about that. Wish I had noticed that sooner, but I did not. So I have them now. They're mine. And I hope that I enjoy them, because that's expensive. Also, from Inspired Needle, I got a bunch of gentle art. This is all the gentle art that I need to start A Raven's Reply, Nevermore, that I talked about last week. This is everything I need, plus a couple that I still needed for Yellow Submarine. And I did end up getting the 2 weeks colors for A Raven's Reply. So I know I was sort of waffling on that last time. I'm going to try the weeks and see how I feel about it. And we'll go from there. So I got those. What else? Ah, okay. While we're talking about A Raven's Reply, from Shakespeare's Peddler, I got a piece of neutral 40 count for A Raven's Reply. I decided to do the 40 count. Everyone I talked to at Galleria said, you can do it. So I can do it. I'm going to do it. So this is called Weathered Shingle. I believe this is from R&R, which I've never had their fabric before. So looking forward to trying that. I hope this does not do me wrong. Please, please, please. Also from Shakespeare's Peddler, I picked up another piece of Ada. I got this beautiful blue color that has some really lovely modeling in it. It's showing up a little bit lighter than it is in person. It's a little bit richer in person. This is a piece of 16 count from Picture This Plus. It is Nessie, which is funny because that is the color of Lugana that I'm waiting for to start the Tiny Modernist Christmas Sal, because I'm a sucker for the called for, and that's what it calls for. And when I was at Shakespeare's Peddler, I was just looking through their fabrics and saw this and I didn't even see what the color was. And I was like, ooh, that's so beautiful. I want that. And then when I was checking out, I realized it was the same color as the one that I'm waiting for. But it's not the right size. I can't just decide to stitch the Christmas style on that. But it's okay because it's beautiful and I'll find something else to do with it. I am still hesitant about developing a fabric stash because so far I've been tending to stitch on whatever's called for a piece, if there is a called for. That having a fabric stash feels wasteful to me, or stressful, because then I have to figure out what to do with it. But I would really like to start pushing myself to use more interesting fabric. I've thought about joining a fabric club. I've been a little bit stressed about, like, well, how do you know what size to order? And how do you know, like, they have, different color types, and, like, how do you know which one you want? I just need to pick something and go with it and get it for a little while, and then if I don't like it, then I can cancel it. And I think I would like to go with Color and Cotton because so far I've really, really enjoyed stitching on their fabric. But their fabric subscription is full right now. So I'll be okay for a while, especially because I just bought so much stuff. So I'm going to hang out on their waitlist for a little while, and then if I'm, feeling antsy to join a subscription and they're not available yet, then I'll find something else to join. And if they open up, then I'll probably join them. Moving on to Silkweaver, I bought... Oh no, that's not going to show up the color at all. It looks way paler here than it does in real life. In real life, it is a beautiful, rich color. Oh, that is not even remotely close to showing up right. Oh, I'm so bummed about that. This is a 38 count piece of linen, which I have no idea what I'm going to do with that. It's called Dirty Carrot, which I love. And on Saturday at Galleria, I bumped back into Jan and from Friday night. And she had a piece of this. And I was like, oh my God, that's the most beautiful thing I've ever seen. Where did you get that? And immediately ran up to go and buy myself a piece of it. I have really no clue what I'm going to do with this. I'm so sad it's not showing up. It's like a terracotta almost. And it's got some like brown modeling in it. So yeah, I have no clue what I'm going to do with that. If you have any ideas for what I could do with that, please let me know, because I am so psyched to stitch something on that, but me and fabric, not the most creative, so please help me out. Also, while I was in Silkweaver, I got a pattern. This is Pineapple Welcome by Jeanette Douglas. And after I bought this, I noticed that it has specialty stitches in it. So that's going to be a fun adventure to learn some specialty stitches. I'm sure I can do it, right? Moving on to Rosewood Manor. I went into Rosewood Manor just to look around. I'm just started stitching Autumn Quakers, so I was not really about to buy anything else big from them. But I had a really good time talking to Karen, the designer for Rosewood Manor. And then while walking around the store, I stumbled upon this model and thought it was so cool that this model was out in her display that I had to get the chart. And it is the Maryland state map. So Maryland is where I am from. And I am from right over this area. And so this chart has the Baltimore Oriole and the Black-Eyed Susan, which is cool. And this over, see, I still can't point. This over here is the state quilt, which is really neat. And Karen also has a design that is like the American flag with all the states' quilts on it, which I'm not a quilter. I don't know anything about quilts, but that was really cool looking. And so I'm thinking maybe one day I'll have to get the American flag quilt because it was pretty cool looking. The only thing I'm bummed about with this chart is that there's no blue crab on it and there's no Maryland state flag on it, because if you've ever seen the Maryland flag, you know that it is one of the weirdest, coolest state flags there is. It's very identifiable and would be really cool to have been on this piece. I think just, yeah, the border is just in the colors from the quilt. So the border isn't even pulled from the flag. I think maybe what I'll do with this is I'll find a Maryland flag pattern because I think it's so cool. And then frame those together or next to each other or something, because that would be cool. I also know that Karen she has, I don't know, 8 states done-ish. And she's working on more every year. So I also think it would be really neat to stitch Massachusetts for my boyfriend one day. So I'll keep an eye out for that. Again, I have no plans to start that. That'll be a while from now. Last but not least, I think this is last. Yeah, whew, we did it. We're on the last thing. Last but not least, I got a Bendy Stitchy design, Hildy's Brew. I got this from Crossed Threads, and I had a good time talking with Katrina Boyd from Crossed Threads. We discussed our shared love for Bendy Stitchy and for Flosstube and all that sort of thing. So she was lovely. And I know that I talked about this in my last video, that I'm not really a Halloween person. And yet, I just can't get over how cute this is. The steam curls just, like, have me. I just love them. So I can't wait to stitch this. This is going to be so much fun. I have to figure out what I'm going to stitch it on. Oh, I just noticed that I think it's the steam curls are done in Etoile, which is awesome. I have used Etoile, but not very much. So I'm looking forward to getting to use that a little bit more. So I think it would be cool to start this at Halloween. To not let this just like sit in my stash forever. It's all in DMC, so I shouldn't have any trouble with that. Or one would think. When I went to start Pride and Prejudice last week, that has like 6 colors in it, and I was like, they're all DMC. Like, I obviously have those. I have 3 huge bobbin boxes of thread. I had 1 of 6. 1 of 6. That was very irritating. But so, since this is all DMC, I shouldn't have any trouble kitting this up. It does have one Fancy Floss, Threadworks Autumn Leaves, which I think is the border. And that is super duper variegated. I feel like that's something I'm gonna want to get. But I can work on stitching the rest of it if I don't have that yet. The thing that will be an issue is fabric, and I just got done saying how much I struggle with fabric, so I don't know what I'm going to do. I really like the dark color of this. This is called for on Picture This Plus Echo. And since I just ordered a Picture This Plus, that still hasn't gotten here. I ordered it like September 1st maybe, and it's not here yet, which I think is normal, but I'm impatient. I'm hesitant to get something else from Picture This Plus and then have to wait for a while, especially if I want to start this at Halloween. But since I don't have an LNS, I'm going to have to wait for whatever I get regardless, unless I get it from 123 Stitch, because they're pretty quick. So if I can find Echo on 123 Stitch, I'll probably just get that. If I can't, I'll see if I can find something from 123 Stitch that I like just as much. And then worst case scenario is I buy the call for it from Picture This Plus and I wait for it, and maybe it doesn't get here in time for Halloween and I start it after Halloween, or I wait until next year to start it. So I don't know. We'll see. But that is everything I bought at Galleria. And I love all of it. I'm obsessed with all of it, and almost none of it is getting started right away. But that's okay, because I just started 2 new things, and I have at least 2 more things that I'd like to start right away. I want to start my Yellowstone piece, and I want to start the Galleria freebie that I got from So Much to Love. And I've still got to work on the SALs that I'm trying to catch up on, and I've still got to work on the other things I need for homework and extra credit for Magical Stitches, and my piano piece is still just as stale as it was last week. So why can't I just stitch all day long? That's all I want. So real quick before we get into plans, well, I started talking about plans, but before we finish plans, I'm going to talk about other things that I received in the mail this week. We're going to start with pins because I got some cool ones. If at any time you don't want to see my pins, let me know and I will stop. But until then, I'm going to show off my pins because I love them. So, I ordered from Studio Pins and Paper on Etsy their Fantastic Beasts set of beasts and magical creatures, and I love them. So we have a demiguise, a phoenix, a mooncalf, and a niffler on this one. And then on this one, oh, I love these. We have an Akame, a Thestral, and a Bowtruckle. So that came in a set of 7, and I'm obsessed. Also, from the same shop, I got this Wingardium Leviosa pin. More like Wingardium Leviosa, which is fantastic. They have lots of pins with spells on them, and I wanted to get them all. But I tried to limit myself, especially because all the money I just spent at Galleria hurts. And last but not least from this shop, I got a Hedwig. And the books that Hedwig is sitting on are the 3 school books that were released as a set. We have Quidditch Through the Ages, Beetle the Bard, and Fantastic Beasts. So, love that. Then we have a very special pin from Swish and Flick. I love this pin shop. And these are Luna's shoes hanging here. And in the main part of the pin, it says, "Things we lose have a way of coming back to us in the end." But not only is that stunning, but this pin has something really cool and special about it, which is that it has some extra engraving on the back, and it says, oh, it's even upside down, and it says, "If not always in the way that we expect," which I just love. I love that it has more on the back. So, also the fact that it swings is fun. So, loving that. Was really excited to get that in the mail. Also, I failed to mention that with my studio pins and, what is it called? Studio pins and paper. They sent me little freebie stickers. So we've got a lion, a badger, a snake, and an eagle, which is actually an eagle, which I very much appreciate. So those are super cute, and definitely the badger will be going on my laptop, and maybe the others will go somewhere too. Also, in the mail this week, I got a book, which I'm going to talk about because I'm excited about it. I got Sorted by Jackson Bird, and I pre-ordered this book. I've had it on pre-order for months, and I am so excited to have received this. I'm a huge fan of Jackson Bird. I follow him on YouTube, and I discovered him through his work with the HPA, and have continued to follow him since he left the HPA, and I just can't wait to read his book. And just, come on, that cover. I love it. So I don't know when I'm going to get to that because I abandoned my current book to start Pride and Prejudice, so I'm going to go back to that. I'm reading The Sun is Also a Star. So that's what I'll get back to when I'm done with Pride and Prejudice, but Jackson's book will have to come up really soon because I cannot wait. All right, moving into the rest of my plans for the week. I don't know what I'm going to work on past this week other than those 2 hopeful new starts that I mentioned. I'm going to keep going on both Emerald City and Pride and Prejudice. I'm still going to keep prioritizing Emerald City because that one's further along and I'm making really good progress on it. And that Sal is coming to a close, so I'm excited to make a ton of progress on that. But I don't want to fall too far behind in the Pride and Prejudice one, so I'm going to keep making progress on that one as I can. Also, I'm going to work on... Let me pull it out, if I can find it, underneath my millions of things. I don't know where I put it. Here it is. So for Magical Stitches this week, we had to work on something with rings. So this is my piece with rings because Saturn has rings. So I'm going to put some stitches into that. And that is one that I am hoping to finish relatively soon. So I'm looking forward to making progress on that. Next up, I'm going to work on butterflies because that starts with a B, and we needed something that started with a B. For bludgers, the rings were for keepers. I already started working on the autumn Quakers that was something that you wanted to start right away or was hard to find. And that challenge was for seekers. Also okay for that challenge was stitch your most sought out pattern, but I have a lot more things that I was excited to start. So that is what I'm stitching for that. Then we have the chasers. We have to stitch on a woman or a human female. So where did I put it? In Emerald City, I am about to reach some women. So we've got the Good Witch of the North comes up right next to the Scarecrow. Hopefully that'll be enough stitches. And if not, Dorothy is not too far away from that too. So Taddypoo is coming up soon, who is the Good Witch of the North, by the way. And then last but not least for magical stitches, we get a bonus for stitching with a partner, something that someone else is stitching. And I know people who are stitching both Emerald City and Pride and Prejudice, so I'll work on whichever one of those I feel like. So those are my plans for the next week or two, and I think that's all I've got. Yep, that's all I've got. So thanks for hanging out with me and hearing all about my Galleria experience, and I may or may not be back at the end of September. We'll see. Dang it. We're gonna have to go back.